Today we'll be reading Genesis 19 to 20. I already have my Bible open. And as always, I like to just share like a quick tip before we get started. So I was thinking about the tip I would like to share today. And I think the biggest part of it would be always ask God for help. Always go to God for help. I mean, there's so many tips, there's so many strategies, there's so many time management information out there that you can leverage on. But the truth is, sometimes life happens, sometimes our strength will fail, but it's very important to go back to our Maker to ask for help. And the reason why I'm stressing this is because He's the one that made you. He knows your weaknesses, your strengths, He knows the in and outs of you. And so He can give you the strength in the place where you need it the most. If you use your human mind to kind of figure it out yourself, you might think it's something else that's bothering you, but it could be something completely different. So really always ask God for help. And I remember a very tough time in my life where it was just hard, getting everything done in a day. It was hard for me, it was this very stressful time. And I remember that when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I say to myself is, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. I will repeat that to myself every time before I even get up from the bed. I'll be like, I can do all things through Christ that gives me strength. I thank you, Jesus, for the strength that I have for today. And then I can go about my day and I'll be able to carry out a lot of things gracefully. So my tip is ask God for help, strength, grace, whatever you think you need in the season of your life. Okay, let's get into Genesis 19 to 20. Okay, so I'm going to start reading. Verse 1. In the third month, after the Israelites left the land of Egypt, in the same day they came into the wilderness of Sinai. Sorry, not Genesis, Exodus. Exodus 19 and 20. When they had departed from Rephidim, and had come to the wilderness of Sinai, they encamped there before the mountain. And Moses went up to God, and the Lord called to him out of the mountain, say this to the house of Jacob, and tell the Israelites, you have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings, and brought you to myself. Now, therefore, verse 5, if you obey my voice in truth and keep my covenant, then you shall be my own peculiar people and treasure from among and above all peoples, for all the earth is mine. I'm reading this verse and I'm like, it's such a simple instruction from God, which is obey my voice. That's when I speak to you, you obey, and you keep my covenant. So whatever covenant or whatever, I know that covenant relationship I'm with is I've dedicated my life to God. I said, God, take over my life. This is my life. I've handed it to God. That's a covenant relationship I'm in. It wouldn't make sense for me to go back and take back my life and make my own decisions. Do you see what I'm saying? So really, what God is saying that if you listen to His voice, it speaks to you every day. Just listen to His voice. And it's so beautiful that we're reading this because my tip for today was asking God for help. So when you ask God for help and you listen to His voice, it will speak to you and you have to take action based on what God is saying. Right? So when you do that, this is what happens. It's with a promise. It said, then you shall be my own peculiar possession and treasure from among and above all peoples, for all the earth is mine. And he shall be to me a kingdom of priests, a holy nation, consecrated, set apart to the worship of God. These are the words you shall speak to the Israelites. So Moses called for the elders of the people and told them all these words which the Lord commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord has spoken we will do. And Moses reported the words of the people to the Lord. And the Lord said to Moses, behold, I come to you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with you, and believe you, and remain steadfast forever. Then Moses told the words of the people to the Lord. And the Lord said to Moses, go and sanctify the people, set them apart for God today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes and be ready by the third day. For the third day the Lord will come down upon Mount Sinai in the cloud in the sight of all people. And you shall set bounds for the people round about, saying, take heed that you go not up into the mountain or touch the border of it. Whoever touches the mountain shall surely be put to death. No hand shall touch it, or the offender, but he shall surely be stoned or shot. Whether beast or man, he shall not live. When the trumpet sounds a long blast, they shall come up to the mountain. So Moses went down from the mountain to the people and sanctified them, and they washed their clothes. And he said to the people, "Be ready by the day after tomorrow. Do not go near a woman." The third morning there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mountain, and a very loud trumpet blast, so that all the people in the camp trembled. Then Moses brought the people from the camp to meet God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Mount Sinai was wrapped in smoke, for the Lord descended upon it in fire. Its smoke ascended like that of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked greatly. As the trumpet blast grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered him with a voice. The Lord came down upon Mount Sinai to the top of the mountain, and the Lord called Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. The Lord said to Moses, "Go down and warn the people, lest they break through the Lord to gaze, and many of them perish. And also let the priests who come near to the Lord sanctify, set apart themselves. Let the Lord break forth, lest the Lord break forth against them." And Moses said to the Lord, "The people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for you yourself charged us, saying, 'Set bounds about the mountain and sanctify it.'" Then the Lord said to him, "Go, get down, and you shall come up, you and Aaron with you, but let not the priest and the people break through to come up to the Lord, lest he break forth against them." So Moses went down to the people and told them. Then God spoke all these words: "I am the Lord your God, who has brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before or beside me. You shall not make yourself any graven image to worship, or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them or serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing mercy and steadfast love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments." I know a lot of people read this scripture and they say, "Oh, I'm the third and the fourth generation. Maybe that's why this is happening to me." But guess what? In the next verse, in verse 6, you can change that. Once you love God, you keep his commandments. You don't save just the third and the fourth generation. You save 1,000 generations. God will show mercy and steadfast love. That's all we need, right? To 1,000 generations of those who love me. So the moment you love God, the moment you listen to his voice and obey his commandment, you can change the story of your generation. Now, verse 7 said, "You shall not use or repeat the name of the Lord your God in vain, that is lightly or frivolously, in false affirmation or profaning. For the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain." Honestly, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, withdrawn from common employment and dedicated to God. 6 days you have labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. In it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter or your manservant, your maidservant, your domestic animals, or the sojourner within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it, set it apart for its purposes. Regard, treat with honor, due obedience, and courtesy your father and mother, that your days may be long in the land of your God, the land the Lord your God gives you. You should not commit murder. You should not commit adultery. You should not steal. You should not witness falsely against your neighbor. You should not covet your neighbor's house, your neighbor's wife, or his manservant, or his maidstone, or his ox, or his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. Do not covet anything that is your neighbor's. Social media. Do not go on social media, see other people's lives, and covet it. Right? Now, all the people perceived and the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the smoking mountain. And as they looked, they trembled with fear and fell back and stood afar off. And they said to Moses, "You speak to us and we will listen, but let not God speak to us, lest we die." Look at their mindset. And Moses said to the people, "Fear not, for God has come to prove to you, so that the reverential fear of him may be before you, that you may not sin." And the people stood afar, but Moses drew near to the thick darkness where God was. Do you see the difference in mindset? When you have the wrong mindset, you draw back. But when you have the right mindset, you push in. Why? Because Moses understood that this is a loving God. He just wants to talk to you. Calm down. Do you see the opposite? And that's why you need to be careful the people you surround yourself with. If a lot of people like Moses have moved near, I'm sure some more people would have. Right? If somebody has thought, you know what, Moses is just like a man like me. If he can move, I can move too. He is my God as well. They would have had a different experience. Your mindset matters a lot. He said, and the Lord said to Moses, he was speaking to the Israelites. Now he's talking to Moses. Thus shall you say to the Israelites, because that's what they wanted. You have seen for yourselves and have talked with you from heaven. You shall not have nor make gods with me, or gods of silver or gold. Gods of gold you shall not make for yourself. An altar of earth you shall make to me and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and your peace offerings, your sheep and your oxen. In every place where I record my name and cause it to be remembered, I will come to you and bless you. And if you will make me an altar of stone, you shall not build it of the hew of stone. For if you lift up a tool upon it, you have polluted it. Neither shall you go up by steps to my altar, that your nakedness be not exposed. I'm just thinking about my relationship with God, and I'm thinking about moments in my life where God has spoken to me directly, and I feel like, oh, this is a lot, and I step back. And as a result, things change in terms of like the direct communication now goes through people. How many of you want a direct communication from God? If you do, I would say have the right mindset. Have a Moses kind of mindset right now that makes you to press in, that makes you press in. That's one of the lessons for today. And then the second lesson, I think we got it from chapter 19, where the simple instruction is just to obey his voice in truth and keep his covenant. Then you have all that, the peculiar possession, the treasure, all of that comes your way. And I think the beautiful one that came up too was in chapter 20 verse 6. It said, but showing mercy and steadfast love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandment. That means God is willing, he loves to, he wants to change the story of your family. The moment you love him, you keep his commandments, you can change it for 1,000 generations. That's it. I'll see you around.